Thank you very much. First of all, my sincere gratitude and a warm thank you to IFA Galaxy and the entire team for inviting me. I think that's very, very kind of you. Thank you. My wife also is out here today. Nowadays, I never travel without her. Wherever I go, I tell her to come with me. At least you'll get to know that mera kuch hai, matlab I'm something in the industry. I'll tell you why I say that. Because for all the good things Babu mentioned, I'm also jobless and I'm unemployed. And there's a reason for it. It's because of the MFD community. Because I have a financial advisor and MFD, so I become jobless and I'm totally unemployed. And that's the story I want to share with all of you, that how did I become what I am today? It's because of my MFD in my life. So in the next 25-30 minutes, what I am going to share with you is not fund management. It is not about mutual funds. It is actually not even about anything to do with numbers. It is as an investor. I'm an investor, and what has been the role of my MFD in my personal life? Every word from here onwards is personal. Every word is experience, and everything that I say has come by way of 25 years of journey with my advisor. So please listen to this carefully, because this might just help you. So I wanted to start with, it's something I wanted to start with. Don't get this wrong, it's not what you do in the dark, matlab chupne wala nahi hai ye. It's what you do in the dark that puts you in the light. So when an MFD is working in the background and everything is, kind of up, effort kar rahe ho, you're making an effort, building the portfolio, no one is really recognizing you. Because you're working at the background and suddenly in the spotlight, you will come one fine day when the portfolio start to go up, portfolio is making money, etc. What I'm going to do is show you an example of what this means, an example of by way of a video by one of my favorite sportsmen, Michael Phelps. He's won 28 Olympic swimming medals, 28. He is the most celebrated sportsman on this planet right now. What I want to show you in this short video is his training. What we see are the 28 medals. What we see are the portfolio returns. What we don't see is the training and the effort behind it. So I'm quickly going to show you that video. Have a look. It's very short, and then we'll talk about it. This, by the way, is Michael Phelps, 28 times Olympic winner, 23 times gold winner. And the reason why I wanted to put this out is many times the investors don't see what you're doing in the background till it starts to show up in the portfolios. So keep doing what you're doing, because one fine day, everything adds up and it comes out in the open. So in this journey, what I wanted to share with you is a few things that like I said, it'll be personal experiences, it'll be learnings. And the number one thing I want to tell you is this journey that I have with my MFD. I realized that the way he looks at my life is he's not here to maximize my returns. He's here to minimize my risks. Because that way, we live to, we just survive and kind of take volatility in our stride and we kind of go to the next cycle. If he was focused only on maximizing returns, we'll end up taking undue risks. And one of the things I wanted to share with all of you is that the MFD out here in the community has to look at also minimizing risks. The other thing I want to share with all of you is, as an investor, if I start saving 1% of commission, I'm putting my 99% of the portfolio at risk. Because my belief as an investor is I can do it all. ऐसा नहीं होता है. There are people, are doctors, architects, lawyers, they're kind of doing their day jobs. How can they also be great at stock picking? Simply because they believe that they want to save on the 1% commission. Trust me when I say that, I'm speaking as an investor. If I start looking only at commissions, I'm going to put 99% of my portfolio at risk, because even though I understand this business, I still require professional help, which is what makes the MFD's role even more important. This is just a quick thing of how life has so many options. And what I did is then finally put down 5 or 6. I just put down 5 or 6 big points that kind of stuck with me in this journey. Number one, and this has been said since yesterday, so many people have used the word chemistry, emotions, heart. Usha just spoke about, she put that heart out there. This is genuine stuff. If we believe that we are fund managers, then everything will be about numbers and charts. Trust me, you all are emotional managers. Because when the markets kind of go on the downturn, people will need your hand. They will need your heart. They will not just need your head. So please remember, as an MFD, you're actually emotional managers first. Then you are a fund manager. Because, see, numbers and data are known to everyone, but how to navigate through that is something that has to come from you. And by the way, the world is moving away from IQ. Then there is EQ, which I just spoke about it. अब तो और दो level आ गए हैं. Something known as SQ, which is social quotient. How good are you socially? And now, beyond social quotient, there is something known as AQ, adversity quotient. How good are you at managing adversity? मतलब, how good will you be when things get really tough? AQ. Basically, अपना काम AQ तक भी आने वाला है, adversity quotient. And I'm not trying to say that the markets will fall. I'm just trying to give you in these 30 years of investing, we've already had 5 really tough cycles. So adversity quotient is also something that we need to take care of. In all of this, data becomes, like, I heard so many managers speak about data as God. Yes, data is God and etc., is all true. But what good is that data if people redeem at the wrong time? So here is my number one humble request to everyone. Please become great emotional managers. Number 2, you become family. An MFD becomes part of family. In my life, there are 2 people who I trust the most, my wife, who's sitting here today, and my MFD. Because he's become part of family. It's because when there is a death in the family, the MFD is called. When there is a wedding in the family, the MFD is called. When there's good news, MFD is called. When there is bad news, MFD is called. So pretty much you become part of family. You become an extended arm of the family. That's number 2. Number 3, I think one of the things that really worked between me and my advisor is he was totally transparent. He showed me his own portfolio. He said, boss, मैं ये करता हूँ. This is how I run my portfolio. This is what I know. And I'm going to just replicate the same thing, give and take, thoda bahut, idhar udhar, little bit, some adjustment here and there. And till date, I have conversations with him quite often. He just shares his portfolio with me. I know what is going on in his portfolio. So when I see my portfolio in my mutual funds or in the PMS that we've invested, he runs the PMS also, the portfolios are almost the same. So there is no conflict of interest of any form. Because what he's doing is what I'm also doing. So that transparency is real and it really helps. Now, it can't be that he is selling me a fund that he doesn't have. वो थोड़ा मुश्किल है. That just shows that, and also remember that this transparency is also like a certificate. कि मैंने पैसे बनाए हैं, you can also make money. So one suggestion I have for all of you is, please take your account statements, your personal account statements also as proof of what you've kind of done through this industry, because only then will people really, kind of trust you and see, okay, this makes sense. The next few points that have really worked for me, an investor can take wrong decisions, will take wrong decisions, but an MFD has to take tough decisions. Your job is to take tough decisions, not right or wrong, but tough. Jab market bilkul, when no one is investing, is when you have to take the tough decision of investing. And in a market like today, when everyone is investing, you have to take the tough decision of asset allocation. So one of the suggestions I have, again, learning from my experience is that please take tough decisions. They may be right, may be wrong, but do the tough thing. Don't do the easy thing. And that's how portfolios kind of will get created. This business is for life. I think Usha also just mentioned that she would love to do this for the next 7 janams of her life. And because I think we're very lucky to have been part of the mutual fund. Thank God I'm not saving savings account and life insurance products. That would have been a disaster. Or at least thank God I was not part of that. So this business is for life. A business done today will get you revenues for such a long period. I mean, that's just phenomenal. Koi aisa dhanda hi nahi hai like this one, where you can get revenues for life. It just is extraordinarily beautiful. Couple of things. I think the life of an investor is supremely complicated with whatever they do in their, my life can get very complicated because I love to do so many things, just different things. My portfolio has to be simple. I don't want to spend time on understanding futures and options, cryptocurrencies. Mere ko nahi karna alternate investments of a different kind altogether. My life needs to be simple. I should understand my portfolio in less than 3 minutes. And the proof of that, the way to test it, how the portfolio looks, is a 16-year-old or an 80-year-old. Both people should be able to understand the portfolio. So if I ask my daughter to look at it, or if I ask my grandmother to look at it and make little sense of it, they should be able to get it. If both don't understand, it's not a good portfolio. That's a true test of the way I use. The test I use is both should be. The minute it gets complicated, I don't like it. So finally, one last point that I mean, of course, I'm going to show you how my journey is, but you do change lives. I'm a good example of how my life has changed because of my MFD. The reason why I'm able to spend 9 hours in a day doing only what I love to do is actually because of my MFD. And that I genuinely want to share with all of you. My life has changed. Now I'm sitting here today, standing and speaking in front of you, but my portfolio is working. And there's a team working on it. So why should I spend my brains just to save that 1% and take more headache on my head? Why? My 9 hours are too precious. I'm not going to spend, picking stocks and buying mutual funds. Wo uska kaam hai. That's some of the things I wanted to share with you. What I'm going to do now, it's just take you through my own actual experience in the last 25 years. Finally, I think there's this thing, I think a good MFD is like a good wife or a good life partner. So choosing a good MFD is very important. Compatibility really matters. Similarly, you should choose your clients and investors very carefully. There is something known as liability management. We've heard of asset management. But if the liability, that means if the money that is coming in is not high quality, is not good, and every time the investor is only bothering you, then that investor is not worth it. Sometimes my friends, my relatives, they come to me and ask me for help and advice, ke kya kare, and they have very large portfolios. They run into crores of portfolios, and sometimes I just say, okay, I cannot handle what you're trying to tell me. It's not in my capacity to do it because you are coming with a very short-term notion of making money. I'm here for decades. So please choose your investors also very carefully because liability management is as important as asset management. So quickly now getting into the journey. My advisor is Jain Investment Planners. They're based out of Bombay. They're a 100-member team now. And he started 25 years ago. I'm his first client. And I started with the 2,000 rupee SIP. So this journey has gone through. Jain Investments manages, I think, about 1,300 crores by way of mutual funds and about 1,000 crores of their own PMS. So roughly everything put together is about 2,500 crores. But the good thing is that they have internal fund management in the firm itself. But the unique part is that this is built over almost 3 decades now. And this journey actually, for me, the first time I met him was we were working together. And so in 2000, I kind of met Vinod Jain for the first time. And I realized he's a very sharp chartered accountant. He knew his numbers very well. And one day he just quit his job. Literally next day he quit his job. We were together. He was in the finance department. I was in Birla Mutual Fund in sales at that point in time. He left his job. And he said, Karan, मैं MFD बनने जा रहा हूँ. Obviously, IFA at that time. तो मैंने कहा, बहुत ही बढ़िया है. ये रहा मेरा पहला check, मेरा पहला SIP. I am your first investor. You please start because I think it's a great idea. And he needed a bit of support at that time, just mental support. So I remember that conversation. That was the first time we met and we started. So 2000 is when we started. Just to remind everyone, the day we started, it was boom time because it was the IT boom. And just as we started came the bust, the dot-com bubble bust and the 9/11 and all of it. So उसने धंधा चालू किया, मैंने investment चालू किया and everything went for a toss. But the good thing is from day one, his number one decision right at that time was what not to do. And we stayed away, and I'm just using some names because people will, this is not kind of saying that these funds are bad. It's just at that time, we just stayed away from this. According to him, why should we enter something which is already looking so overvalued? And so we avoided IT and tech funds. We didn't do Alliance New Millennium, which later became Birla IT, everyone would remember. मैंने Alliance New Millennium में, we have taken, I got clients to take loans to invest in it. So that's the kind of life I've come from. But he told me, I was all set to cut a check, okay, we should also do it. No, he said, no, just stay away from some of these things. I didn't understand it at that point in time, but later, obviously, this really helped. So one lesson that I learned when I was interacting with him at that time, this business is also of what we don't do. This is not just about what we do, it's also what we don't do. And I'm emphasizing on what we don't do is because when you take a choice of what not to do, it basically means that there is a conscious decision to build portfolios carefully. And so 5 years, so from 2000, started with chota SIP. 2006, he helped me buy my first home. The photographs you see on the right-hand side are real. That's my ghar. I stay here. But abhi usko obviously renovate karke, sab अच्छे से, we've done it up. So that's my home. But the advice that he gave me is never invest in a second home, but buy a great first home. So the other thing that, this is again very personal, I'm just sharing with you my journey, whether that helps in your journey with your investor, I would leave that to you. But I have never ever bought a second home, even when it was easily available. Whether it is in Goa, whether it's in the hills, every time my friends come and tell me, ye plot mil raha hai, ye mil raha hai, Gurgaon mein mil raha hai. I just stayed away because this advice I always remember. Always buy a great first home, don't have to buy a second home. Because jo bhi paise second home ke hain, usko mutual fund mein dal do, let the money grow. Why not? So my portfolio by 2006 had touched 35 lakhs and he redeemed everything. I was left with 1 lakh in 2006, personal portfolio mein se. 34 lakhs I redeemed and I took a loan and bought the first home, which till date, and I think for the rest of our lives, we'll probably be living out here. And so that first good home really helped. Even when it was beyond my means, I did take a loan and we redeemed some money. So the point I'm just trying to leave with you is, ek lo, magar acha lo. And then came 2008. I lost my job. at the most celebrated organization on this planet, Goldman Sachs. So I was hired to run Goldman Sachs ka mutual fund. They interviewed me 21 times. I had 21 different interviews. Finally had to face a job loss because they decided to leave the country. So now in this case, remember now we are talking a job loss of income, etc. But two pieces of advice came through. Stay invested, do not lose focus, and we will come through the job loss. Finally, I got Axis Mutual Fund as a job, etc., and life continued. But even when the times were tough, when I lost my job and I didn't know how to pay my next SIP, etc., we didn't redeem, we just stayed put. And that staying put really helped because that means continuity was maintained. And that got me to the point of just staying put even in really, really tough times. A job loss can be very damaging, by the way. Personally, it hurts because the family kind of wonders what is going on, etc. But this was a really tough phase, and we kind of managed through this phase. And then came 2012. So, job loss hua, financial crisis ho gaya, I got a job, but then came stagnation, market stagnation. In this 4-year, 5-year period, I was 100% invested in equities, 100%. Not 1 rupee was invested in non-equity. So this is a time that I stayed invested in equities for the next 10 years, 2008 to 2018, through a very tough 5 years where nothing happened, sideways movements. Now, this is the other thing I learned from, just being in the markets and through the MFD. Buy equities when no one is buying equities. And this has happened in my personal portfolio. We stayed put 100% in equities, and I want to show it to you by way, this is my portfolio ka movement. Shayad piche dikhega nahi. Don't have to go by the numbers, but this is just to show you real life what had happened. So I explained in 2006, I bought my first home. There was 35 lakhs in the portfolio. We redeemed it. It became 1,35,000. So from 1,35,000, I started my SIP journey all over again. Every time I got a bonus, the money got invested. So from 2006, and then came 2013, the 1 lakh became 2 crores. In a very, very tough phase, where the markets didn't go anywhere, just put all my annual bonuses and my SIPs, dhire, 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 2013, the portfolio became 2 crores. And somewhere in 2018 onwards, 16, 17, 18, Axis started giving us stock options. At one point in time, my stock options actually turned to roughly 9.5 crores. Now, stock options turned to 9.5 crores. This became the most important decision of my investing life, which the MFD took. So here is the thing. I worked at Axis Mutual Fund. My salary came from Axis Mutual Fund. Bonus comes from Axis Mutual Fund. And my stock options come from Axis Mutual Fund, which is Axis Bank stock. And that's touched 9.5 crores. So of my net worth, 90% of my net worth was in one stock. And I did not have the courage to sell the stock because that's my employer. If I sell the stock, I'm a traitor, right? I would feel like as if I'm doing injustice to my company, to my employer. And that's again where Vinod and his team stepped in. In 2016, when my single stock exposure touched whatever, 90%, what I couldn't do, he stepped in, got me to remove my Axis Bank stock options, got them down to 10%. Not because the stock is bad, because my risks were too high. Yes Bank, DHFL, Citibank, I can give you name after name, where people had all their savings in the company that used to pay them their salaries. And all of them lost serious amount of money because they didn't exit the single stock. So I'm not saying that Axis Bank as a stock was bad. I'm simply commenting that my 90%, 80% in one stock was incorrect. I didn't have the courage to remove the stock. He stepped in. And so as a very tough decision, you remember my first point was, please take tough decisions, don't take good decisions, take tough decisions. He took the tough decision. Now, that 9.5 CR then got invested in funds, etc., but single stock exposure came down. Guess what happened to the stock? The stock in the same period, when I sold it, actually didn't go anywhere. So the stock also didn't go anywhere. Fortunately for me, Neto, I would have felt really bad. The stock also, now of course Axis Bank is doing remarkably well, etc., but when I sold it also, the stock didn't go anywhere. So it kind of, it matched well because we got exposure away from one stock, got into mutual funds, and also the stock really, took some time before it grew. And then came 2018, which is when I decided to leave the corporate world. By this time, everything put together, my corpus touched about 18 odd crores. And this is a time, and I must tell you this standing out here, that when I first started my conversations of exit from the corporate world, I told Vinod, the day I touch 10 crores, I will not walk away, I will run away. So that portfolio touched 18 crores in 2018. I said, it's not time to run away, it's time to fly away. Because now I'm going to enjoy life, you take care of everything, it's your headache. So this 18 crores is now spread across for my daughter who's now in America. There's a portfolio for me and my wife. And that's how we've segregated portfolios. Each one has their own portfolio, but the advisor is common to everyone. So 2018, I left the corporate world. Today, it's been 6 years since I left. I don't miss the corporate world because I get opportunities to come and talk to you through IFA Galaxy. And then I get to meet everyone. So 2 things happened in 2018. I left the corporate world. And then also there was a separation, there was a setback. Vinod helped me through the separation, etc. And the good thing is, he was there for me and my ex-wife, both. So imagine an advisor stands by both the people at the same time. Now this is quite unique. The reason why I'm sharing something very personal is because I don't do this every time, is because you are family. You should know this. That is why I said MFD is family. Because imagine the amount of effort I have to make to explain to him. And then what happened is, at the time of our divorce, Vinod was standing, and when I got married, Vinod was right there. So that's the power of an MFD. Finally, I just wanted to say that 2020 was COVID. For the first time in my investing history, 100% of equity came down to 70%. Because according to him, I would love to stay invested in equities, but according to him, and I agree with him, COVID, geopolitical risks, etc., were building up. So in 2020, 4 years ago, we shifted 30% of the portfolio into gilt funds. It's something that I won't do it on my own, but I trust that he understands all this, and at some stage this will come through. And now I see the reason why we shifted 30% to gilts. It's actually going to make money also. And it is the foresight of managing risk ahead of time. So 70% of the money is still invested, hardcore equity, hardcore PMS, and 30% is in zero risk, Government of India securities. And I wanted to end by saying that today I have exposure in a 10-year track record of PMS, but see something very unique out here. We have zero exposure to banks, and all our focus is on manufacturing, pharma, and agriculture. And this happened from 2019 onwards, or 2020. So zero exposure to banking for the last 4 years. This is not a comment that banking is good or bad. This is not a comment that manufacturing is good or bad. This is a comment on preparing portfolios ahead of time. So when today I hear all the managers, fund managers come up here and speak about manufacturing, I'm happy that my MFD saw it ahead of time and invested in manufacturing, agriculture, and pharma about 4 years before it started. I'm going to give you another last couple of examples of how this has worked. We have in our portfolio Castrol, Bosch, And two names which have done nothing in the last, they did nothing for 4 to 5 years. Today, they are all there. That's what is running the portfolios. We have ABB in the portfolio, which is kind of doing well. Now, why am I giving you names? Is because I have झेलोed the pain also for 4 years. उसका जो pain मैंने झेला है, अब उसका gain भी देख रहा हूँ. That's what I wanted to share with you. Portfolios are built ahead of time, not on time. Take tough decisions. And the last piece that I wanted to share is this important advice that Vinod gave me right through my journey. Take the loans, but be strategic about it. Take it at a time when the markets are good, take the loan. Stay in bull markets, come to asset allocation. In bull markets, come to asset allocation because mistakes are made in bull markets. Control your risks. Don't take single security risk. So for everyone, if your investors and clients are in single stock, single ESOP, please get them to get that 80% down to 10%. Very, very critical. In sideways market, when markets are going nowhere, I think the dynamic approach of investing in equities will always help. In sideways market, go all out. When the markets are tough, go all out. It'll really work well and have a very, very differentiated portfolio. All these things put together have come through in the last 20, 25 years. And my journey now for the next 25 years, ye to abhi start hai. Because if I'm fit enough, hopefully I'll live till 90, 95, hopefully. That means I still have a 40-year journey for investing. So for me, short term is 10 years, medium term is 20 years, long term is 40 years. So my journey with my MFD is now for the next 40 years. And I just wanted to thank you all. It's my gratitude to the community for being the emotional and intellectual support to me and my family. Thank you very, very much.